Tracy Take. I am your co-host Tyler here with my brother Ryan, and we are here to talk about the Week 9 action, and then also we're going to do our Week 10 predictions tonight as well because I will be out of town and will be traveling, so I just don't want to do anything on that Tuesday night. So, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Ryan and I, we have the show every Monday and Tuesday night starting around 8:45 Central Time. Even though we won't be doing it tomorrow, we normally do on Tuesday nights. We talk about football and everything going on in the NFL. And so thanks for being here. Hit that subscribe button so you can see when we go live and also when we create new content. And share this video with your friends and family. And Ryan, let's get into it. Before the show started, we were really talking about, because I feel like there was a lot of good storylines, not like shocking storylines. But I think the one that we ultimately decided on starting first is anytime a head coach gets fired, that's kind of a big deal for
especially mid-season.
And this way, especially like, and this makes me curious too on what other teams might do this because the expectations for the Colts coming into the season were very high. They gave up some draft picks to get Matt Ryan. He is now benched. They fired their offensive coordinator last week. Now they fired their head coach. They brought in a legend in Jeff Saturday to come in as the interim head coach. I love seeing that. I think I don't even know if he would be a good head coach or not. I just like Jeff Saturday. I think everyone likes Jeff Saturday.
Yeah, it's hard not to like Jeff Saturday.
Yeah. So hopefully, I was thinking about this too. Well, let me get back to that. But with Frank Wright, this is the move, and I think it needed to happen a long time ago.
Yeah. They were done with him.
Mark. Yeah, they were done with him. Yeah. And I think too, I didn't even notice this, but when they fired the offensive coordinator last week, then that's when reports came out, and I didn't even know this, but he didn't even make the play calls. Frank Wright was the one that made all the play calls. So
that was very evident on Sunday.
There
was no difference in play calling.
Yeah, so I was not able to watch the Colts-Patriots game, but I mean I saw the stat line. I think they had 112 total yards of offense,
like 122, I think.
When you go, the game's bad when you barely, like the length of a football field from back of the end zone to back of the end zone is 120 yards. When you barely cover that in total for a whole game, that's a horrible performance. That's just
over half of it, or almost half of it, came on one possession. It was the possession before second half. The Patriots were in a prevent defense, just trying to prevent them from chucking the ball down the field. And they got about 54 yards on that one possession. That resulted in no points. They missed the field goal.
So feel free to correct me and also comment down below once, like if there's a clear example that's coming to your head. But maybe just because I haven't noticed it, but this is the first time that I can really recognize where there is such a night and day difference between offensive line performances from one year to the next. Like last year, the Colts offensive line was the best. Maybe not the best. Top 3 offensive line though.
Yeah, it was rated 12 by PFF, but they had a lot of injuries.
Towards the second half of the year, they put it together and definitely this was the team that, or this was the offensive line that we had all expected with all the talent that they had on there.
Yeah.
And then now I don't think they have too many injuries that I can recall, but they should be.
No, it wasn't that.
They should be great. They're great on paper.
Yeah, the highest paid offensive line in the NFL, and for them to be performing like this is abysmal. For me, just looking at some of the schemes that New England was throwing at them, they weren't overly complex, right? It was replacement blitzes, so they'd have 5 guys on the offensive line. One guy would pull off and drop into coverage and be replaced by a linebacker that was off the line of scrimmage. And it would completely throw off the offensive line. They would overload one side and they would get beat. They would be running simple stunt moves and they would get beat. And for me, it was just a simple lack of adjustment because with 9 sacks, that's a whole game. That's not we had a bad first half. That's a whole game.
They had 9 sacks.
Yeah, the Patriots had 9 sacks.
Oh my God!
They were 0 for 14 on third down. Abysmal. Like they did not come out ready to play. They have not looked ready to play in their games prior. This was just a long time coming for Frank Reich. I hope he can go get an offensive coordinator job somewhere else and regain what he had in Philly.
You're hoping he goes to Buffalo?
Well, he's not going to go to Buffalo. Buffalo's
no, I
offense
know that's
great.
a joke though. With how awful their offense has been,
he was a really good offensive coordinator in Philly. He was the one. Him and Doug Peterson were the ones that called the Philly special play in Super Bowl 52. Really creative, and it's just like they completely lack all of that right now. We were laughing in the car. Dad was like, here's what's going to happen. Colts are going to come out first few possessions. It's going to be run, pass. Pass will be incomplete, or he'll get sacked. They'll punt. Patriots will go down, kick a field goal. All of a sudden, it'll be 16-0. And it like that literally happened almost to a T. It was 13-0. Yeah. So it was just pretty funny to watch.
I almost wondered too, because so Jonathan Taylor's in his third year, correct?
Yeah, third year. He was injured though.
So, but I wonder though, and this is just pure speculation, but it's like they know that the offensive line has been atrocious, and with Jonathan Taylor being a little banged up, like maybe he's good to go, but they're like, "Hey, dude, you should sit this one out because you're going to get wrecked."
Yeah,
like
Jonathan Taylor would have made very little difference.
Oh yeah,
just because they were not winning the line of scrimmage.
No, well, and we've seen that so much with the Colts, though. It's like even like their first game against Jacksonville, where they put up, I think it's a similar stat line. Like maybe it was 200 yards of total offense, but running the ball, they couldn't get anything done at all. Mm-hmm. And so in that game, though, they had a lot of key pieces missing. But it's very curious to kind of see what goes from there, because Jeff Saturday definitely is going to come in, and I think they specifically brought him in for the offensive line. I think they specifically brought him in for the offensive line. I mean, I don't know too much about his past, but like I don't think he has too much coaching. So when it comes to playbooks, so now they don't have an offensive center.
That's a good resume.
No, that's good. Oh yeah, but come in at head coach, and then I'm curious from here. Need to do a little more research on who's going to be calling the plays, who's going to be. Or is Sam Eilinger just going to wing it and they're just going to do some backyard football or something like that? So
hey, that's probably better than doing what they got.
You know what? That'd probably be more fun for everyone. I bet it's been super tense, and it's like I still don't think the Colts are going to make the playoffs. But if you look at it, and this is still, and it's kind of leading like what we want to talk about next, like was the AFC South and like Kansas City. But it's like Tennessee's not that far in front of them. Like on paper, if the Colts can get it figured out, and they will, but they're better than Tennessee. And we saw in the Sunday night game against Kansas City, that game could not have been more perfect as in their defense played well above what they were expected to. Kansas City played well below what we expect them to. And they could not move the ball at all. And I don't think it would have made a difference either if it was Ryan Tannehill or if it was Malik Willis. Malik Willis actually gives them more of a dynamic, at least running the ball.
Yeah, it's a different threat, but
it's definitely a different threat.
I think same result.
Same result. And one of the biggest issues too, especially with Treylon Burks being hurt, but the Titans have no one to throw it to.
Yeah,
I don't think I think I heard the stat.
No receivers had a
no
catch.
receivers caught.
No receivers had a catch.
Yeah.
There was like 3 people that had a catch, and the one that had the most was a rookie tight end, Chigoziem Okonkwo, I think was his name.
He's
a rookie tight end from Maryland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like the Colts aren't that far behind, and the Chiefs. I mean, every team's going to have an off week, and this was just their game.
Yeah.
And hey, that's how. Like you grind it out, because then the Bills lose, and so now they're tied in record. So Bills still have the advantage because they have the head-to-head, but it still helps the Chiefs potentially get back if the Bills can lose one more.
Yeah.
But not really too many dominant teams, it seems like, in the AFC. So like if a team can get hot and can just make the playoffs, I still like Kansas City and Buffalo, but. We already mentioned Buffalo, and they look shaky against the Jets. If the Jets can get hot, they can figure it out. That could be a team that could potentially make a run.
To me, this week really proved that anybody can beat anybody on any day. Because to me, the Titans are a mediocre team. To me, Titans are on the same level as the Patriots. And they almost beat the Chiefs. And to me, I had put the Chiefs and Bills on a pedestal. However, the Jets came out and actually beat the Bills, and the Patriots just beat the Jets last week.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, to me, maybe that distance isn't as far as we thought, and it really, I think, shows that anybody can beat anybody.
Well, it's just interesting. It's because I've been playing a lot more Madden and NCAA on the GameCube as of late. And it's so because on there it's like, okay, like this player has an 85 overall attribute. He has 99 speed. He's going to bring that every single week, et cetera. And it's obviously not like that in real life. So like these guys, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense how the Chiefs can get stumped by the Titans defense. Like it doesn't make sense with how dynamic that offense is. But they do. They're humans. They just have off games. Similar to Buffalo. Yeah. Josh Allen and company had an off game, and now it looks like
they did, but the Jets also kind of caused it. I don't know how much that game you actually paid attention to.
Not much. I was following the score and everything.
Jets got consistent pressure up the middle, but they also kept their edge rushers that they kept them shallow so they could run with Josh Allen. Yeah. And they just did a really good job. I mean, they just prevented the big play for the most part, made Josh Allen dink and dunk. Josh Allen got a little reckless and turned the ball over. The Jets defense just did a really good job of making Josh Allen have to take the easy stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes the easy ones are hard.
Yeah. Well, and it's tough to have. That's what a lot of the rookie QBs or second-year QBs have to learn and go through. But it's just to hit that check down guy, give them what they give you, or take what they give you. So the big thing though with Buffalo to me is I'm curious what's going to happen with Josh Allen and his elbow. They said he's had some UCL soreness after a hit that he took, and if that does affect his throwing, or if he does have to sit some time, that's going to be very interesting on how that affects the team. It's going to see how the week transpires, but it might affect some picks for this week because they're playing Minnesota in week 10. So, and that's a tough game, and they need to win that game so they can keep pace with Kansas City to maintain the home field advantage. But it's the AFC is wild. AFC is getting very wild because I agree with you on what you said earlier that the Chiefs and Bills were on a pedestal, but they definitely showed a lot of vulnerabilities this week.
Yeah. And kind of keeping with that theme, switching over to the NFC, the Eagles had a really tough night against the Houston Texans, who are 1-6-1. And Dameon Pierce, 27 carries, 139 yards. Davis Mills looked good. He did have to force the ball down the field in the second half of the game a little more and made some mistakes, but even the Texans looked good and showed that they could even play with the Eagles, who are right now considered by most the best team in the NFL. So I think it's a really interesting landscape that's coming about in the NFL. It makes, as the season comes to an end, it makes these games even more and more critical. And I'm excited. I mean, this is shaping up to be a good second half of the season and end of the year going into playoffs. So
yeah, well, it's you've said this for a long time on this channel, but especially this season, just talking highly of the Texans, and you were right. The Texans put on a good show. Dameon Pierce seems like a legit like future superstar for that team, someone they can really build that offense around. And if Davis Mills, I mean, they'll probably go quarterback, I would think. But if they like the potential that Davis Mills has, they still have him on a rookie contract. And going back to what we talked about this off air, but is C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young going to be significantly better than Davis Mills?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, well, I mean, from the get-go, do you think Davis Mills is or one of those guys is going to be a significant improvement to that offense?
So if I'm in the Texans front office right now, I'm thinking this Davis Mills guy has potential.
No.
I understand CJ Stroud and those guys also have potential. But if I'm picking 4 overall, right, and I can take because I'm assuming Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, one of them is going to go, or both of them before pick number 4. If I can take the third best quarterback and replace Davis Mills, or can I take the best wide receiver in the draft? Like for me, if you have Brandon Cooks, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Nico Collins, that is a solid wide receiving trio.
Yeah.
That I think at that point you will really know if you have something in Davis Mills.
Yeah. Well, even with that, like Marvin Harrison Jr. should be available in the second round, maybe even the third round. So we'd be looking at Quentin Johnson, we're looking at Jackson Smith, Njigba. And then there's another guy.
I haven't really looked at 2023 draft.
No, that's
that was the first wide receiver that came to mind.
I've been following them a little bit. Oh shoot, I'm blanking on it now. But I agree that I think if they're picking 4 over another guy also, Will Anderson as well. Pick him. That's the name that comes to my mind. Clear best, but arguably probably the best prospect in this class if you're looking at it overall. But the Texans. They're in a good shape. They're playing good, fun football. Similar, I think, to the Lions, where it's not like it's just a sad team of guys.
No, there's hope around that team.
Yeah. Shoot. One second.
And they have some winnable games coming up. I mean, they play the Giants. That's a tough one, but honestly, they played Philly tough. I expect them to play the Giants tough. Yeah. And then they have the Commanders. Which they really should win that one. I don't think the Commanders are that good. Dolphins, Browns, Cowboys, Chiefs is a tough 4-game stretch. But then they have 3 divisional games, which are always complete toss-ups.
Yeah.
So,
especially their division, none of those teams are killers,
world beaters. Yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
I was gonna say they're definitely picking top 5 or 10. I just think this team has more hope than people might feel. But I just think that this week proved that no matter who you are, you have to show up and play every single week. Because the Eagles got played tough, the Chiefs almost lost, and the Bills did lose. So,
yeah. Jordan Addison with USC. Was the guy I was thinking of. Yeah, and that's why it's so and that's why sticking with the NFC or going back to the Eagles, for them to be undefeated for this long and then still have a lot of good opportunities still to stay undefeated is impressive because you're still going up. Everyone knows now, they have you marked on the calendar, okay, this is the number 1 team in the league. Let's give them everything that we got, especially for a team like the Texans. So, but a team that is not number 1 in the league and definitely will not be contending for a Super Bowl did end up winning. Because I think, is he the oldest quarterback in the league? He's got to be the oldest quarterback in the league.
Oh yeah, he's 45.
Well, sorry,
Yeah.
but also oldest player. He's got to be up there.
Yeah, he's 45.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
so he's older than some of the coaches. I think he's older than Cliff Kingsbury, Sean McVay.
I think isn't Sean
Matt
McVay?
LaFleur.
Isn't he a decade older? A decade older than Sean McVay.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
So, the Buccaneers had a horrible 58.5 minutes of football. Couldn't get in the end zone. Oh
no, I'm
what?
Oh, sorry, I was going to say like usual, like that how they have been the past couple of games.
Yeah. And it was frustrating to watch. I mean, they get close to the red zone, they come down, they kick a field goal, or like they get to the 45, and then Tom Brady gets sacked, and they have to punt. However, holy shit, they found some magic in the last 54 seconds of that game, and that's the most Brady thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, it was something to see, and it's another classic Brady thing. And congrats to passing. It was 100,000 passing yards.
Yeah, 100,000
right?
passing yards.
That's absolutely insane. Think about how long you have to be playing. Even if he had a 20-year career, 5,000 yards a season, it's unreal. That's absolutely unreal. So, congrats to him. They had a lot of help on that last drive from the Rams, just being absolute dog crap as well. On top of that,
they actually took advantage of it scheme wise. The Rams were playing off outside coverage, so they threw a slant. So then they put a linebacker or safety in the middle, so they can't run the seam route with the tight end. So then they're like, all right, we'll just throw 8-yard outs to Scotty Miller. So then they did that. They got a pass interference in the end zone, which was pass interference. And then they drew up a great play to Cade Otton, who looks to be a promising tight end. So, to me, that is the type of momentum, even though the last 58.5 minutes have sucked, that is the type of momentum that they can build their offense off of. The offensive line, you didn't see anybody near Tom Brady on that drive.
No.
So to me, the Buccaneers, I think, found something mentally that I don't think that they might have known that they had before, and I think that's going to carry over into the coming weeks.
So, my one thing with that is now, of course, this was a game-winning drive. I said that a couple weeks ago when they lost to the Chiefs. Now, of course, it was a loss, but they did end up putting up 31 points, and Tom Brady, I think, had a game fantasy-wise. My thing is, though, is when we've seen them have success this year, it has been against teams that they just go into a zone prevent, and Tom Brady can just pick them apart. But teams have consistently just been putting pressure on Tom Brady to where he does not have time and he can't move. Really. So I think that's got to be the game plan for teams moving forward. And who are they playing next week?
The Seahawks.
Oh yeah, so that'll be a
tough one.
That'll be a tough one, and the Seahawks want that to be a shootout, and Tampa Bay does not want that to be a shootout. I can't believe I'm saying that, but a Tom Brady-led offense does not want it to be a shootout, which is very interesting.
I somewhat agree. I think if it turns into a shootout, the Seahawks don't have the defense to do anything.
See, but does Tampa Bay have the offense? They haven't shown consistently.
Yeah. I think they do.
I
think
have the
Tampa
weapons,
Bay will consist even with the offensive line they have now. We'll get into that when we talk about the picks. But
that's true.
I think the Buccaneers found something mentally that was a huge win. I think that is a win that they're going to build off of, because it's not the same thing as that Kansas City loss that you're talking about. When push came to shove, they got it done. They all did their job, and they got the win. So for me, I'm a big believer in the Buccaneers going forward.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and they go similar to the Titans. They have been struggling and are lucky enough that they're not in a good division. So they do kind of have. I know I picked Atlanta last week to win the division, but it's close. They're, I think, the best team that could contend with Tampa Bay, especially since they're struggling. I don't think the Saints are going to be able to do it. But so with that being said, if they are able to win the division, if they just eke in, but if they have another 9 weeks to try and figure this out to where they can be the offense that they want to be. And you still don't really want to play Tom Brady in the playoffs come January. So they're going to have a home game. If they win the division, they'd be going up against, if it's the Cowboys, they beat the Cowboys earlier in the year pretty handedly. So, but we'll just have to see. But
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think the Buccaneers have 9 weeks to figure it out. I think they'll eke in, and once when they get in, they'll have a home playoff game, and nobody wants to play Tom Brady come January, February.
Yeah,
that I was literally thinking about that on my way home.
It's like we're brothers or something.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the Buccaneers and the Falcons. I think that's the Week 18 game. I think it's in Atlanta, so
it is. That could be a big one.
That I would never have thought that game would have meant anything.
If that's for the division, you're going to come down to Atlanta?
Yeah, I can maybe see about trying to get some tickets for that. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun.
That would be a good time. So, we'd have to bring. No, the missus would stay home with the baby.
Yeah, it could be a brother Sunday.
Or maybe the missus would want to come and the baby could stay with Lily. So I think Lily would really like that.
Yeah. I don't think there'd be any arguments there.
There'd be no arguments.
But I think the Buccaneers, they have a somewhat tough schedule coming up. Saints, 49ers, Bengals, those are all pretty tough. But to me, I think they also have some easier games. They should beat the Browns. They should beat the Cardinals.
So, it's funny. You say that with the Browns. I don't know. Because if you
the Buccaneers will do to the Browns what the Patriots did. It'll be like that.
Yeah, but I think
it's still Jacoby Brissett.
But what are the strengths of the Browns? It's running the ball, and then also being able to rush for and get QB pressure, led by Myles Garrett. And I think their secondary is good enough to where they can kind of hold on long enough to maybe disrupt a little bit of Tampa Bay. I wouldn't just write off that Cleveland game. And also, too, is Deshaun Watson going to be back by then?
No. It's in 2 weeks. Yeah. It's actually, I think, the last week without Deshaun Watson.
Oh, okay. Never mind then. So, we're getting close. We're getting close to Deshaun versus Houston. That's going to be a fun one.
Yeah. Instead of terrible towels, it'll be tiny towels.
Tiny towels.
Yeah. I hope they lose all 6 games when he gets back.
I bet there's a lot of people that would agree with you on that.
Yeah. But no, I just think Tampa Bay matches up really well. I think they'll do what the Patriots did to the Browns.
I don't disagree with you. Like it's Jacoby Brissett led, but I also think Cleveland though matches up really well again because that Bucs defense has been struggling. And if there's a strength on that Cleveland team, it's running the ball. And I think that the front seven of Tampa Bay has not been as good as we're used to seeing them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I saw that front seven is still lightning quick. They still can draw up some nice blitzes. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Anything else from Week 9 that you think is worth talking about?
The one thing, and you brought it up, and just looking at it, and the Bears had kind of been irrelevant, so I hadn't really been watching it too much. But looking at Justin Fields' stats, I mean, props to him. He is that a record?
Yeah, it's 178 rushing yards by a quarterback.
And didn't Lamar Jackson just break that record earlier this year?
Yeah, he had 140 something.
Yeah,
actually, and I think they were both against the Dolphins.
You know what? And that makes sense too with the style of defense the Dolphins play. Dolphins play a lot of cover zero and then a lot of man. So if they could get a block,
not as much as they used to, but I agree.
Yeah. They still throw it in there a decent bit. But to me, that I'm curious because just one final thing was because we didn't talk about it, but last Tuesday was the trade deadline and all the trades that happened. So then with the Bears getting Chase Claypool, but with the Bears to have Justin Fields develop, they don't want him running for 178 yards every single week. He's going to get hurt. He's only He's only 21. He's only 20 or
21 or 22.
He's 23 here. He must have just turned 23.
Okay.
And I was even thinking about it because we were watching Lamar Jackson play before this, and I didn't even know he was 25, but he's running all over the place, and he's good at not taking hits, but he'll slide or he'll just go down to the ground and then have someone land on him. But I'm curious though because we see Tom Brady and then that style of pocket passer and those types of quarterbacks can play well into their 30s, and some even into their young 40s. Like Phillip Rivers was 37. Ben Roethlisberger was 38, 39. Drew Brees was 40. Like
39. I think he retired
was 39.
Before he was 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
His scar was 42 years old. That's what I got mixed up. So.
So for me, I don't know if that was a joke or not. I didn't get it.
It was. Yeah.
For me, if you think about it like a car, right? You can only drive a car for so many miles, right? And these quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
They want to have as many easy miles as possible. And these scrambling guys, no matter if they're sliding for the hits or they're running out of bounds and avoiding big hits, those are still harder miles that your quarterback is taking, and their longevity will be decreasing.
Yeah.
Because of it. And I don't, it's not sustainable. It's a great performance, but it's not sustainable. I wish it was, because that would be great if we could watch Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields do this for the next 15 years. But
just a bunch of 60-year-olds just breaking off a 75-yard touchdown.
But your body just breaks down so much faster. I think we saw it a little bit last year with Lamar Jackson and just his body. Like, they really, really relied on him last season, and his body broke down. He couldn't handle it. Was out, ended up missing a large majority of the season. So, to me, I like that the Bears are getting Justin Fields out in space. They're designing more runs for him. They're doing things that might allow him to benefit the team and create for the team. But I just wish that they would do it in ways where it's not as hard on his body.
Yeah.
So
well,
and some of that is him developing.
Yeah, and the Bears are in a very interesting spot because Justin Fields has the capability to turn into Lamar Jackson, but he needs, and I've even seen it tonight in this game. Lamar Jackson has had a couple of inaccurate throws. All quarterbacks do. But if you want to get up to that next level, Justin Fields still has more inaccurate throws than the average quarterback. And so now I applaud the Bears for going and getting Chase Claypool. And then I think they got to use their first-round pick on a receiver because
something to benefit Justin Fields.
They need to get a receiver or offensive line or defensive line or linebacker or corner or safety. One of those six, and then I think that'd be a good pickup for the Bears.
Yeah. No, I agree. If they don't do that, then they would be severely hindering Justin Fields. And to me, they've already done that by switching from who was their coach last year? Matt Nagy to is it Matt Eberflus? Or Mike Eberflus?
I can't even remember.
It's Eberflus. I know that's his last name. But to me, I think that they've already slowed down what his progression could be just with poor front office decisions. And I think if they don't give him something in the next draft, I think it could really tank his progression. Yeah.
We'll just have to see. So, but that's going to do it with week 9. We still got Monday Night Football going on here. And so,
it's looking like it's fallen for the Ravens.
It's looking like it. It's, it looks like they just punted the ball too. So, I've got Chris Olave tonight, and my opponent's got Andy Dalton as his quarterback. So it's like, I want you to throw him a touchdown, but don't throw too many more.
You want Taysom Hill to come in.
I want Taysom Hill to then do a play action pass to Chris Olave. So, but it's looking like Baltimore's going to win, and that's actually a big deal because if we're looking at our yearly competition, that is going to put you on the win category, which has not happened too often this year, if I must say so myself, throwing in a slight little punch in there. But I think that'll put it at 5-2-2 in favor of me. If the score holds out this way with Baltimore up 17-6. But in general, though, great week for us either way. If this holds out, you would go 11-2. this week, with your two losses being, well, and for me also, Atlanta and Buffalo, which were just field goals. That was the only difference.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, very easily could have gotten all the picks right. And then I picked Vegas, and then you picked Jacksonville, and Jacksonville ended up pulling that one out. Looking back, Vegas is so shocking to me how anemic that offense is. Like,
they got out, it was 20-0, I think.
Yeah, and then it just stopped. Like, so they did the same thing they did against the Cardinals, and they just gave it away.
I wouldn't be surprised if Josh McDaniels gets fired. Like, if this continues for the rest of the season and then it carries over into next year, I couldn't see a world where Josh McDaniels gets fired.
I don't think he'll get fired this year because they definitely have shown promise. But you got to be able to close out games. One of the things specifically with the Raiders, and who are the Raiders playing this week? They're playing. Are they on a bye this week? No. They're playing Indianapolis. That's going to be one of the saddest games of the year. Almost sadder than Indianapolis, Denver.
That's actually a tough matchup for the Raiders.
Yeah, because the Colts defense is really good, but the defense has been the issue. The defense is now the offense has paused at times. They definitely have paused at times, but the defense has been the issue consistently, and even going into last year. They just are not effective and are not consistent in stopping the opponent's team. So, but yeah, so Raiders blew another game that gave you the edge, and so you would be going 11-2 right now, as long as the Baltimore. I would be 9-4 because I had New Orleans winning this game. So yeah, I think we can mark it. I think we can mark it down now because it looks like Baltimore's
driving. Yeah.
So then I'll do that right there. So, but yes, that'll put me at 9-4, which would then make it my season. I'm at 82, 53-1, and you would be a solid week. At
76, 61-1.
No. You I already changed it. You'd be at 59.
From up here?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, halfway through the year though, and I'd say, I mean, I'm 29 games up on in the win column on my overall for my picks, and you're
17.
No, 17. I still think that is good. I mean, for never doing this before, I don't think this is very good.
Yeah.
I don't think. I'm trying to think. At this point, though, like last week. Well, I think we got lucky last week though too, because we're looking at some of these games could have gone the other way. Like Miami, Chicago could have gone the other way. Green Bay could have gone the other way.
Honestly,
Rams,
even Kansas City could have gone the other way.
Kansas City and Tampa Bay could have gone the other way. It came down. So I think we're getting lucky, but also I also think that we're just that amazing, and you should subscribe and watch if anyone is watching.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put a disclaimer. We are not liable for any money that you use based on our picks.
No, absolutely not. I didn't say that. I just said that we're awesome. But hit that like button if you are here. Ryan and I, we're going to go into our picks, starting out with the Thursday night football matchup. We have my Atlanta Falcons going up against the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta just played this team a couple weeks ago, and I would be lying if I said that if they didn't get lucky. They got very lucky that the Carolina kicker couldn't kick.
They also got unlucky in the fact that they literally hit a Hail Mary against you guys. That's
fair. Yeah. And then DJ Moore took his helmet off, and then that caused a 15-yard penalty of unsportsmanlike conduct, and then they missed the extra point. And then Marcus Mariota threw a pick, and then I think he missed an even shorter field goal. I think it was like a
33-yarder and
33-yarder.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, I can make. I don't know if I can make it now. I'm in the shape of football now, but I used to be able to make that. So
you just have more mass to get it further. That's what you're going for, right?
Yeah, but it takes more muscle to move that mass to accelerate through the ball. so we will have to see about that.
Yeah.
But I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with Atlanta winning this game. Yeah, I just think you don't know what you're going to get with Carolina. Like, AJ Terrell might be back for this game, so that's going to be a big boost if he is healthy. Cordell Patterson is also back. That's going to be a big boost on that offense because Atlanta did not have any issues moving the ball really against Carolina, especially running the ball. The running, I'm really excited for the Atlanta future if Arthur Smith has come in and has established a running type offense, because I think that is. Well, I'll just say, and then I could definitely obviously change my opinion, but I think having a run first offense or a good running offense, I think is much more difficult than establishing a passing offense. With how elite guys are and how athletic guys are, I think you can come up with creative plays to get guys open to move the ball down the field through the air. But if you don't have a good offensive line to block, or come up with run block schemes, then you become one dimensional, like having to throw the ball.
The most recent example is Tennessee, but that's when the Patriots were so good, like when they won 3 Super Bowls in the early 2000s, they were a very balanced offense. They ran it almost exactly 50% of the time. But not only it's not just like we're not just all right, we'll hand it off and run it for 2 yards and then throw it the next 2 down. Like it's not that. It's the effectiveness of actually being able to run the football. And making it a problem for defenses. Tennessee does that really well now. Tennessee has been the division winner and the 1 seed last year, solely off of having an elite running offense.
Well, and then the Arthur Smith was the offensive coordinator there for the longest of time before he moved to Atlanta. So he has come up with those run blocking schemes that have worked. So they drafted Falcons drafted Tyler Algier in the 5th round, I think, running back out of BYU. He's come on strong. He had a great game. I think 132 total yards. Cordell Patterson's still doing Cordell Patterson things. He's reliving the glory days. And Caleb Huntley's also kind of making a resurgence as well. So, but all 3 of those guys are at the benefit of somehow this Falcons offensive line is doing really well because the past couple of years they have been atrocious. So, but I say all that though because if we can keep this going, something similar to how we saw with Philadelphia last year, how they really turned it around in the run game. Not saying that Atlanta is going to be Philadelphia, but if we're confident in this run game and this system works and is going to keep working no matter really who's in the backfield, they can go get a more elite quarterback than Marcus Mariota, and they can go get another receiving weapon or 2 to go along with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. This offense could be very balanced and could be very explosive over the next couple of years.
Yeah. No, I mean, very much so. They've found a groove with Cordell Patterson and Huntley and Algier, like you said. And it's impressive to watch. And they're actually fun. Like it's a fun team to watch because they scheme up different ways to get guys on blocks and things. So it's a fun team to watch. I also think Carolina, they might have been on a little bit of a high too after Matt Rule was fired. And I think they're kind of coming off that. I think that has phased out. I saw PJ Walker and Justin Tucker made a field goal. I saw PJ Walker was either moved to the practice squad or released today.
No, they're sticking with PJ. PJ Walker's going to start against.
I saw that Baker Mayfield was going to start, and PJ Walker was moved down because Sam Darnold was activated.
So PJ Walker. So maybe we're looking at.
Maybe I misread it.
Yeah. PJ Walker to start Week 10 versus the Falcons, despite he got benched at halftime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh. Someone's upset about PJ Walker starting.
Sutton thinks PJ Walker should be released. Put in Baker Mayfield. But that was a great baby cry. That was like the stereotypical baby cry.
That was almost a sound effect. But I just think Carolina's they're struggling. They're in complete rebuild mode. First overall pick, most likely, in my opinion.
I would have to put them at the. I mean, up there. Them or the Steelers. I would think. I do think the Texans
are going to. Right now, it's Texans because they only have 1 win, whereas two teams both have 2.
But the Texans are definitely going to get, I think, a couple of cheap divisional wins. later on in the year. So I don't know if Carolina or Pittsburgh can get that. So but yeah, we both have Atlanta winning that game, and then let's move on now to a historical game for the NFL: Seattle versus Tampa Bay in Germany. First ever NFL game in Germany. And so Geno Smith is going to be going up against Tom Brady in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We actually disagree on this game. You have Tampa Bay winning. Why is that?
So, one, I think this is going to function fairly normally to a Thursday night game, completely out of these teams' elements. And with these odd games, I usually side with the team I feel has just more talent on paper. Because a lot of times these teams have to travel more. They're going to have less time to practice and prepare and draw up schemes, and they're going to be playing at a different time than usual. So usually, how it stacks up is you're playing more like one-on-one rather than scheme versus scheme.
Yeah.
And to me, Tampa Bay wins that almost everywhere. They have the better front seven, better pass rush. Their secondary is really good. And their secondary is really good when they get to play aggressive. They've kind of had to back that off a little bit because they've been getting burnt a little more this year than they have in seasons past. And I think that they're going to be building off the momentum that they had at the end of last week. That team, it was a whole different mood in the press conferences this week versus the last three, obviously because it was a win, but it was the way they got the win. To me, that is a season-changing win, and I think that they build off that through the remainder of the year.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I just think Seattle has had, if we're talking about momentum, I think Seattle has had a much longer momentum streak for them. And so I think they've been playing really well. I think Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all those guys are having a great year. Kenneth Walker has emerged. Similar to kind of Dameon Pierce, he's emerged as the future franchise running back for that team. Yeah. He's playing really well. The offensive line has given Geno Smith time to throw the ball. And Seahawks defense has some question marks, yes, but they've been able to contain a lot of statistically really good offenses that have been playing better this year than Tampa Bay. So I think similar things on what you said, but I just have that leaning actually towards Seattle. I think that they're just the better team right now. On paper, yes, like the receiving core of Tampa Bay on papers is better than Seattle. So I still think that Seattle is going to be able to get after Tom Brady.
Yeah, I also think that the Tampa Bay offensive line versus Seattle defensive line is a much more favorable matchup, or a much more even matchup than the Tampa Bay defensive line versus the Seahawks offensive line. I think Tampa Bay will be able to get consistent pressure on Geno Smith. With that being said, Geno Smith has been phenomenal this year. So
and I think that's one of the things. So it's not. I need to go back and look at the PFF because I don't think the new updates have come out for this week. Well, obviously not. Teams are still playing, but the offensive line seems to be playing a lot better just because with how explosive this offense has been. There's been a lot of deep ball touchdowns, which to me then shows time.
It's harder to dial up blitzes, against it because they do run blitz beater schemes.
Yeah. So I just think. Well, I think that Seattle's going to win, but I believe it's going to be a good game, and Seattle's going to come up on top and go 7-3. Also, too, I just want to see the Falcons lead the division still. So,
yeah.
But
up next, this is actually my favorite matchup of the week. I think
this is going to be a much better game, I think, than people realize.
Yeah, Minnesota is traveling to, is it New Era Stadium? I don't know. They're going to New York, and they're going to take on the Buffalo Bills. We both have Buffalo in this, but I'm really curious, how does Minnesota win this game? Because I think there is a clear path to victory for them.
Well, so the addition of T.J. Hawkinson, that was another trade that we didn't talk about earlier, but I knew we were going to bring it up here. I think brings a lot of options to this Minnesota team. Yeah, and because obviously you're going to have Justin Jefferson that's going to be bringing a lot of attention. You got Adam Thielen on the other side, who's a solid receiver. He's getting older, but like he's not the same stud receiver that he was, but he's a solid number 2. And then you still got the backfield, Dalvin Cook and Anthony Madison. Kirk Cousins has been having a great year. What TJ Hawkinson brings is that middle of the field threat, where he can do a 10-yard in, 10-yard hitch. He's going to be able to get open. He's a great receiving tight end. So I think they're going to be able to score up a lot of points against this Bills defense, which has shown at times some vulnerability against an explosive offense. And I think one thing definitely in favor, and one thing we'll have to talk more about, keep an eye on throughout the week, because this might make me change my picks, but we'll have to see Josh Allen's elbow and see how he is, if he's going to be able to play. So, because I think if playing Buffalo at home is really tough. But
they're undefeated at home this year, just to put that out.
So did they lose last year? They lost to the Patriots last year in that windy game. That was the only loss they had last year. But for them, I think if they can get after Josh Allen up the middle and have a similar defensive approach that the Jets had, I think they have a shot. The only thing, though, is their defense isn't nearly as good as the Jets.
The Jets, yeah. That's so that's what I was going to say. I think they have to come out guns blazing. And I don't think there's a lot of teams in the NFL that can keep up offensively with the Bills, but I actually think the Vikings are one. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Adam Thielen is a group that will rival any. This is also Hawkinson's second or third week in the system. Second week. So I think he'll really kind of be catching on this week or next week.
He caught on last week. I think he had like 60 yards for like 6 catches. I mean, he could have even had more than that, actually.
Yeah, I mean that's great. The quicker he catches on, I think the better this offense will be.
For me, though, the X factor, though, so we're talking about how good the Minnesota Vikings offense is, and if there was a weakness, this offensive line still needs to improve. And if there's it's better. It's better. But if there's a clear strength of the Bills' defense, it's their pass rush. And I mean, their pass led by Von Miller. It's kind of ridiculous, and how they can just keep sending all these guys from Carlos Basham then to Ed Oliver to Gregory Rousseau, and then you have Von Miller all on the other side. They can just all rotate. That's going to be the X factor. If they can contain that, then they have a shot. What makes me nervous, though, about that is Philadelphia. Of course, this was week 2. They did not have TJ Hawkinson, but Philly just terrorized Kirk Cousins all night.
Yeah. And I do think Buffalo will be coming after Kirk Cousins. However, I think they have a little bit of a better blitz beater in TJ Hawkinson than they did when they played Philadelphia in week 2.
Well, and
because he does run those like over the middle routes, where I think Buffalo is somewhat lacking with safety depth and corner depth.
Yeah. Well, and how's their linebacking core too? Because I guess you don't really talk, because we talk about their safeties.
It's pretty good
in their corners. Is it good?
Yeah, Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds are there.
Okay. Because we talk like there's so much talk around Von Miller being there. Then you had Jordan Poirier, who deserve all the credit that they get. I'm not knocking it, but then they never talk really too much about the linebacking core, and that's where I think if they don't have a good game and TJ Hawkinson can come in, that's where adding TJ Hawkinson is a huge difference maker for that Minnesota offense. So I'm very curious. This will be a much better test than it was last week, even though Washington put up a good fight against them. So
yeah, they did
against Minnesota. So, but I will say if Josh Allen doesn't play, do you change your pick?
Oh, 100%.
That's right.
To me,
who's your backup quarterback?
I don't even know.
Is it Jake Fromm still?
No, he's not in the NFL. To me, this Buffalo Bills team is a Josh Allen injury away from being 4-13. He is like, if you want to talk about an MVP candidate, to me, he's the definition of it. I think you take Josh Allen off this team, they are not anywhere near as good as they want to be because they can't run the schemes that they want to run. They can't stretch the field the way they want to.
Well, and he allows them with his Case Keenum.
I mean, he's a good backup, but He cannot do nearly the things that Josh Allen does.
Yeah. No. Oh, no. No one can do what Josh Allen does.
No.
Not even Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen are like Patrick Mahomes is elusive
all the time.
Well, no. But he's elusive. Like, I think the best, clearest example is that touchdown pass that he had to Clyde Edwards-Helaire against Tampa Bay, where he's like running all around and there's 5 Bucs defenders coming at him, and then he just
tosses one over.
Basketball, just basketball tosses it to him. Well, Josh Allen would, if he gets in that situation, he's like, okay, I'm just going to go run over the weakest one and try and get into the end zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that to me is where Josh Allen, he gets reckless.
He definitely can get a little bit more reckless. It definitely seems like even in the game, what was the primetime game they just had that they won pretty? Yeah. He had a couple of just kind of unnecessary, some unforced errors. Essentially. So, but as of now, I'm sticking with Buffalo, and it seems like we'll both switch to Minnesota if
Josh Allen's out.
Yeah. So. Next game up, battle of the bottom of the NFC North, Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears. I will say, I know I said bottom of the NFC North. I like their outlook a lot more than the Packers, just on their future outlook. And so we disagree on this one also. And for me, I'm just rooting for the Lions. I just like the way the Lions play. I like that offense. I think I like Dan Campbell. Nothing against Justin Fields and the Bears. I think the Bears passing offense is just going to be a huge hindrance for them. They can't rely on Justin Fields to run for 178 yards every single time, or he's going to get hurt. And at the same time,
I agree.
At the same time, the Lions did just stop that Packers receiving core, led by Allen Lazard, Christian Watson. And I would put that receiving core on a similar level to the Bears receiving core. If not, maybe even the Packers is a little bit better. And they just stopped.
Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool, I think, are better than Allen Lazard and Christian Watson. Not by much, but they've also been playing together. Like, Chase Claypool is very new to that offense, so it's a little different. I like those weapons. To me, you have more home run potential with Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool than Allen Lazard and Christian Watson.
Oh yeah.
But I like Chicago in this game, and I agree with you. I think that the Bears cannot rely on Justin Fields to run for 178 yards every single game.
Yeah.
I think they can rely on him to run for 125 against Detroit. To me, Detroit's defense is just completely abysmal. And it really shows when they face teams that can throw more than one attack at them. So, for example, New England was really able to take advantage of them because they could both run and pass the ball. And that was with a backup quarterback. They also did it against the Seahawks, right? The Seahawks have good weapons, better weapons than the Bears. But they also had a really good run game. I think Rashad Penny was still playing, and Kenneth Walker was taking secondary snaps.
Statistics galore. 48-45 shootout. Defensive juggernaut. Game. Yeah. So,
but the point I wanted to make was not that I think the offense is going to win this game for Chicago. I think it's the defense. The defense has been really good. I know they gave up a lot of points to the Dolphins, but they have the 3rd or 4th best passing defense in the NFL, which I never thought I would have said about Chicago. And
not in our lifetime, at least.
Yeah, I know they just traded away Roquan Smith and who's the other guy?
I want to say Derek Brown, but that's not it.
That's not it. I forget his name, but he was their edge rusher. But they still are pretty formidable up front.
Yeah.
So
and
Saints scored touchdown. Too little, too late. But
to who?
83. I'm not sure. Juwan Johnson.
Oh, he's a tight end. Who was that trade that they just Robert Quinn.
Robert Quinn. That's who it was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And both teams are in a rebuild for sure. I think what kind of gives me that edge is that the Lions have been in the rebuild now for a year and a half, while the Bears it's like they were kind of in like a pseudo, we don't know what we're doing. Like, let's draft a quarterback of the future. But now they're like, okay, we just traded away all of our pieces. So we're in a rebuild. And so I think the Lions are just going to be a little bit more succinct in that offense. And if it gets into a shootout, I like the Lions better. So it should be a good game. There's definitely a couple of tough games this week because there's matchups like this where both teams really aren't that good.
Like the next one.
Like the next one. Yeah. And so, except one of these teams is probably going to make the playoffs. And so we also disagree on this one, partially just because, so that way then we had an odd number of picks. So then there's a clear outright winner. But next game up is Denver Broncos versus Tennessee. I'm a little bit more confident in this one, in my opinion, than like the Detroit game because you have some good points about Chicago winning. But for me, I have Denver winning, and I think it's because this Denver defense is one of the best in the league, and especially if Malik Willis starts again, the Titans cannot throw the ball. Like they cannot throw the ball. So Denver's going to put 8 guys in the box. Shoot, they don't even need to put 8 guys in the box. They can put 7 guys in the box and still stop them and stop the run at the same time, have a QB spy for Malik Willis. And if Denver, I think they're coming off a bye, right? Yeah,
they are.
They only need to score 17 points, which is what they consistently keep doing. And just in this game. Like I think that they will be able to stop that Tennessee offense because Malik Willis cannot. He's just still too young and too inexperienced. And also in his defense, they have no one he can really throw to. So Austin Hooper is his favorite target, and that's not a good sign. So I'm sticking with Denver on this one. I not saying that I don't want to pick Denver, but same thing. I feel like I'm going to say that too about Las Vegas here. I don't want to pick Las Vegas, but it's just like. Yeah. I don't trust the other team also, and I can put, and you have Tennessee winning, right?
I do have Tennessee winning. They showed a level of grit I didn't think that they had this year, especially absolute props defense. To them. Yeah. They played Kansas City really, really tough. I also just don't think Denver's very good. Like,
I'm not disagreeing with that statement.
To me, there's a big difference between teams that aren't very good but are competitive and teams that just aren't very good. And to me, I think Tennessee has shown that they're more of a team that is willing to do what they have to do to win, even though they might lack talent in certain areas. And Denver, while they beat Jacksonville, like it was Jacksonville. Like
I don't disagree. For me, but matchup wise though, it's like the. I can see a scenario. Say Denver has another hot start similar to how they did against against Jacksonville, where they go down first drive, puts up 7 points. And I think they then put up another 3 points, like on their second drive as well. So they had 10 points, or something quickly. And now imagine, and then I can also see this scenario where then the Titans don't come out that way, and then they get behind. Now they ball to try and keep up a little bit, and they just won't be able to. Can't rely on Derrick Henry. It's similar to Justin Fields as well. Derrick Henry's built a little bit bigger, but they can't just rely on the one guy. And Tennessee's getting to the point where it's the ultimate like one-dimensional type offense. Like not only is like do we just rely on the run, we rely on one guy. Like one guy to provide all the stats for us. And so, and nothing against Malik Willis. I think that he adds an interesting dynamic to that team, especially if they can do that read option with Derrick Henry. You have 2 runners out of the backfield. Like that actually that could progress into a good team. But Denver defense is too good. Patrick Surtain and company, corner wise, is going to lock down whoever they throw out there. And then that front 7 is very good. Now they don't have Bradley Chubb anymore, but I think there's still so many other pieces of.
That was one thing. I'm curious to see if Tennessee's able to take advantage of Denver now that they don't have Bradley Chubb.
Yeah.
See if they can take advantage of that left side of the offensive line.
Did Denver pick up anybody else? I'm trying to remember. I know they traded Bradley Chubb, but did they get anyone else?
They traded for a Jets guy.
Yes, they did.
I forget his name. They traded for. I don't know. It's not saying.
It doesn't matter. And so, but
Yeah.
they essentially, I mean, Bradley Chubb's one of the best defensive ends in the league, so that guy's not really going to replace him. But that's going to be, well, I don't know if I would say that's a good game, but it's going to be a game. A football game will be played that day.
This game will be close for all of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Speaking of games that might not be entertaining, Jacksonville is traveling to Kansas City. I think Jacksonville is in for a rude awakening. Kansas City is going to be coming out to prove a point that they will not be pushed around, especially against the middling to low-level AFC teams.
Yeah.
And Jacksonville is going to get a brutal beatdown in Missouri this week.
Yeah. One of the things too, I think Jacksonville will score some points. I just don't think that the defense of Jacksonville can keep up with that Kansas City offense.
I agree. I think it'll be like a 41-24 type of game.
Something similar to that Kansas City Cardinals game in week 1, where it was like 44-21. Jacksonville, maybe we'll get some garbage time points towards the second half. But I just don't see it being very competitive. Well, I take that back. I can see it being competitive because with Travis Etienne emerging, Jacksonville offense is pretty balanced. And the front four for Jacksonville defensive side isn't horrible. And Kansas City did show against the Tennessee Titans game that they are a little susceptible to a strong defensive line, or a defensive line that's playing well that game. So, still, that all being said, though, I do agree with that. I think Andy Reid, I think he's going to have this team ready. They're going to come out prepared. Yeah. And I think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce is definitely going to have a game, which I think I'm nervous about because I'm pretty sure I'm playing against him in my Dynasty football league. So I hope he doesn't. I hope Christian, is it Christian Gray? Nah, not Christian Gray. Sonny Gray has a great tight end game for them.
Yeah. And Justin Watson is who you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray and Justin Watson.
No, I said, yeah.
You said Justin Gray.
Which I think that's the main character from 50 Shades of Grey, I think. Which is why I was like, I don't know either.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's him.
Never watched that. Up next is Cleveland traveling down to the sunny state of Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins. Miami's just too explosive.
Yeah, this is going to be a high-scoring game, similar to one that we saw where I can see Nick Chubb having some explosive plays, especially with how the Dolphins like to play that defense. But just at the end of the day, I mean, Tyreek Hill has just been an absolute menace. Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
It's weird saying Jalen Waddle is the number 2 receiver in that receiving duo, or with Miami, just because he's a clear number 1 on most every single other team. But Tyreek Hill is just that freaking good. And you know what? Actually, probably one of the biggest things, too, is trading for Jeff Wilson from the 49ers. I think that running back duo for them.
Chase Edmonds and Jeff Wilson.
They got rid of Chase Edmonds. I'm pretty sure they traded Chase Edmonds to the Broncos.
That's right.
It's Raheem Mostert.
Raheem Mostert.
Yeah. And then Jeff Wilson. Jeff Wilson,
you're right.
They split carries, and Jeff Wilson got more yards and more receiving touches as well. So, I mean, Jeff Wilson out of the 49ers proved himself during the time.
Fantasy owners will be happy.
Yes, they are. And so, but in all seriousness, though, outside of the fan of it, I think he provides a lot of depth more depth, obviously, to the running back position, but also a lot of veteran experience as well. So, because he's been playing well these past couple of years, but
no, he really has.
He just keeps getting
kind
of tossed aside.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Jeff Wilson, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, potato, right?
Well, fair, but I meant that more than like Jeff Wilson or Elijah Mitchell. Like Elijah Mitchell keeps getting hurt or kept getting hurt.
Yeah.
And then now Elijah Mitchell's probably going to be out of a job because now they have Christian McCaffrey, so they're not going to be playing him anytime soon.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think Miami's going to go down there. Sorry, I think Miami's going to invite Cleveland down there and then send them home with a butt whooping.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm not mad about it. Houston going to the Big Apple, taking on the Giants. Actually, they're really going to New Jersey, but who cares? Houston, I think, will put up a good fight, and I think this will be a close game. But the Giants have just shown that they have the ability this year to edge out in close games. And for me, I think that continues in this one. I think it's a 27-20 victory. So for the New York Giants.
No, and this is definitely a game where this is going to be similar to what a lot of the Giants games have been like, where it's just kind of a grind, and they're just able to just get a lead and then just hang on to that lead. And Houston's going to put up a good fight, but I just think at the end of the day, the talent is just going to be a little bit too much for them.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, not much else to really say. Indianapolis traveling to Vegas. Indianapolis needs a morale boost, so maybe they'll go out early and hit up some of the clubs. But Vegas, I think Vegas just has too much talent. I also think Indianapolis is completely lost and going to be rebuilding.
Sorry, I had to put in.
Can you put New Orleans in there for me too?
Yeah, sorry, I totally forgot. I thought we were missing a game, but yeah, we forgot to do the New Orleans. We forgot to put the New Orleans Pittsburgh game in there. It'll be kind of a forgettable game, so we'll do that one next.
Yeah.
But Indianapolis, Las Vegas. This will also be a forgettable game. And so, yeah, I don't really want to pick either team. Part of me almost wants to pick the Colts just because of kind of that, like. You mentioned this earlier, like with Carolina, like they're coming off the high of Matt Rule being fired. Like maybe it's like, oh, hell yeah. Like, all right, let's just go play football, boys, And what a better team to do it than against the Raiders, who Indianapolis does match up well against them. Raiders that don't have a good defense.
They can't really take advantage of the Indianapolis' biggest weakness, which is that O-line.
Yeah.
So I think it is a close matchup. However, I don't feel like it's been a scheme issue sorry. To me, in Carolina, with Matt Rule, it was more of a personnel issue. In Indianapolis, it was just like a scheme issue, and that's hard to fix in a week, especially with a brand new coach coming in on a Monday.
That's fair.
So I don't know. I think Vegas has. I don't know. This game is going to suck. I expect Vegas to get out to a lead. I just don't expect the Colts to be competent enough on offense to really be able to catch up. It's not like Jacksonville where they can come out and put up 27.5. Like,
that's one of the things similar to with Tennessee is if the Colts get down, and let's say they stick with Eilinger,
they are. The Colts get down. They've come out and said that.
Oh, they are. Man,
yeah,
so,
I think
so. They gave away a third-round pick just to then have Matt Ryan as a backup quarterback.
Yeah, he injured his shoulder, and then Ursay came out and was really upset with all the quarterback reclamation projects. So that they are like, we're going to stick with Sam Ehlinger for the rest of the year.
Wait, quarterback what?
The quarterback reclamation projects. Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan. Reclamation is like
just a stopgap.
Taking something old and seeing if you can get something good out of it.
Man, this guy hurt Matt Ryan's feelings that he was the guy that broke it. That sucks too, especially
So he had 9 interceptions, or no, sorry, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He had 13 fumbles. He only played like 6 or 7 games.
And that's fair. I mean, yeah, the quarterback, like, you only put so much on the offensive line. Like, you got to take care of the ball. So, I mean, that's fair. So, but, like, if he had a better offensive line, I mean, I won't always defend Matty Ice, but, I still think he's got a little bit left in the tank, but it's just amazing how awful this offensive line has played for him this year. But, yeah, probably just like, let's see what this young guy's got. And then that's going to be a big indicator on who they draft in the first round of the next draft. So, but yeah, I think the Raiders are just going to pull this one out. No one's going to want to watch this game. Colts fans don't even want to watch. Raiders fans don't even want to watch this game.
No, yeah.
So, watch this just be like the game of the century.
If it is, it will be for all the wrong reasons.
It will be. So, let's move on to the next one, though. This was a 12 o'clock game that I somehow missed, but after looking at it, I see why. But New Orleans is going to Pittsburgh. We both have New Orleans winning this game. Not too much difference.
Yeah.
I just don't see how Pittsburgh is going to be able to kind of put up points.
That's my. I can see New Orleans moving the ball.
Yeah,
a little bit. I have no idea how Pittsburgh is gonna do anything.
So like New Orleans getting their butt whooped tonight by Baltimore doesn't really surprise me, but they were at times able to. And this game just ended, so this is actually a perfect time. So let's look at the stat line here. So Andy Dalton, 19 for 29, 210, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. An average. Slightly below average game for a starting NFL quarterback, but I would say that's better than what Jameis Winston would have done. Andy Dalton is a competent starting quarterback. Sorry, and I was looking at the yards here. You still have Alvin Kamara. There it is. Still have Alvin Kamara in the backfield, even though he only had 9 carries for 30 yards. But I think a lot of that, though, had to do they got down early, and so they had to come out and start throwing the ball a little bit more. But to your point, though, yes, I can see New Orleans manufacturing drives. I still struggle to see Kenny Pickett doing that with the Steelers offense.
Yeah. No. I mean, that offense has looked nothing short of it completely inept in their play so far this year. Whereas New Orleans has at least had moments of success.
Yeah.
But so for that reason, I'm going with New Orleans. Up next is Dallas versus Green Bay. I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
No, with me?
You. Yeah, from you.
How's that?
I can still hear it. Turn your volume down like just a smidge.
Oh, okay. There you go. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dallas versus Green Bay. We both have Dallas winning this one.
We talked about that before the show started. Like, should we even talk about Green Bay? And I think you had a point. It's like, what would we add, like, to what we've already said about Green Bay in the past couple of weeks? Like, I would say this. Like, you were talking about Josh McDaniels potentially being on the chopping block, and it'd be very harsh to see Matt LaFleur be on the chopping block, but.
It's his first bad season, but
yeah, well, I was saying, but like there are expectations in Green Bay, and they are not being met this year. I don't think that he would. I would have wanted to see that because I agree with what you said. Where like this is his first bad year in 4 years. So, and some of it too, I would have to say I don't know how much he has to say about who they draft, who they sign, who they trade for, etc. Within the GM, within the front office. But they can sorry. So if he does have any say, then that's the hand he's been dealt. But there needs to be significant changes from within that organization because whether it be like internally or it's like they're just like, we're going to spend money and going to go get receivers and go get this because they drafted decently well defensively, in my opinion, and I think those guys are showing progress.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, let's go spend some money or go spend some draft picks and go get the best receiver in this class. Go get the top 2 best receivers in this class, or go sign Odell Beckham. Go sign someone that can come in and just be an absolute game changer.
Yeah,
because this season is getting close to being over for them.
Are they 3-6?
3-6, yeah.
If they lose on Sunday, it's over.
Now, so it all depends. Like it really all depends because it's like, so right now the Cowboys and the Giants are in the 5 and 6 seed for the wild card spot. Yes. Yeah. Then there's a slew of teams I think at 4 and 5. I don't even think there's a 5 and 4 team. So
Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Falcons are 3 and 5 because they've had a bye, right?
Or
are they 3 and 6?
The Falcons are 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
Yeah.
So they're in the wild card right now.
Technically, 49ers are because the 49ers are 4 and 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, that means at best they can get to 10 and 7, and they still have to play Minnesota again. Let me look at the rest of their schedule. Packers. They still have to play Cowboys, Titans, Eagles, Bears, Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, Lions. Like, they're going to lose to the Cowboys this weekend, and we can talk about that here in a second. They're going to lose to the Eagles. That is a horrendous matchup. They're going to lose to the Dolphins. Like, they're done. Their season's over. Unless they can magically turn this offense from a 9-point offense into a top 10 offense in the NFL again in a week, like, they're done.
Yeah.
And it's not like this is a new problem this week. Like, it's been a week over week. We've seen it and we've talked about it. So, I mean, they're done. And the Cowboys, in my opinion, are a horrible matchup for them because they can wear down that defense with the run game. Tony Pollard is explosive. Ezekiel Elliott is now the second fiddle, in my opinion, to Tony Pollard.
No, they talked about that. This is one of the other primetime games, but they're going to sign Tony Pollard because, one, he's going to be cheaper, and then Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a free agent at the end of the year.
Yeah,
because they paid him a bunch, and he is not contributing what he is getting paid for. So, like, and I agree. No. I think Tony Pollard is the better running back.
Yeah. He's younger, more explosive. He doesn't have the same power, but and then this front seven is going to devour that Packers offensive line. You were talking about receivers that they need to go get. Well, they need to rebuild this O-line too because it is not good. They have a really good running back duo in Aaron Jones and not AJ Moss, AJ Dillon. And you can't really tell because they can't get those guys out in space. They can't create holes for them. So, for me, Dallas, I think, dominates this game. I think this is like a 38-14 victory for Dallas.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be close. I mean, and they struggled mightily against that Lions defense, which we both talked about is definitely struggling. It's not good, and they struggled against it. So, moving on now to then the Arizona Cardinals versus the Los Angeles Rams. This is one we both have Arizona winning this game, and it's not like I have faith in Arizona. It's just that I think Los Angeles is going to lose this game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I think adding DeAndre Hopkins back definitely is more explosive for this offense. We saw that against Seattle, who they put up 21 points against when the last time they played without DeAndre Hopkins, they only put up 3 offensive points against the Seahawks. So, and now I don't think have the Cardinals and Rams played. I don't think they have.
No, they haven't. Not yet.
So
they played this week, and then I think the last week of the season.
So, because if we're looking at it, the only person that is worth noting on that defensive side is Aaron Donald. Like, Jalen Ramsey's been awful. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to eat his lunch. and they have Kyler Murray still just so dynamic where he can just make these plays happen. And so, and then at the same time, it's Cooper Kupp or bust for that Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, they have no one.
That's it. Yeah. So,
and it's not even like Allen Robinson is more of a deep threat. One, he's a little older, and two, they can't even give Matt Stafford enough time to let plays develop for Allen Robinson to get open because that offensive line is playing so bad.
Yeah. So I could see the Rams winning this game. This is similar to a lot of the other games that we had talked about earlier. But I think the Cardinals I think the Cardinals are just going to be able to score some touchdowns with DeAndre Hopkins and Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
That's essentially it.
I think these teams are very similar. I think that there's just a little bit more explosiveness on the Cardinals offense, and I think that's it.
I'm very curious because this could be a game where I change my mind just because I can see myself going back and forth on this one all week just because it's just it's similar to a lot of these games. Like what's not like this game's similar to Indianapolis, Las Vegas, similar to kind of Detroit, Chicago, where like both teams, it feels like it's almost like they're playing like they know now that they're like their season's done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're halfway through, and it's like, yeah, we're not good. Like the only way we're getting in is because all the other teams that are fighting for that final wild card spot suck. So
yeah. I do think the mentality around the Cardinals are a little different because of the DeAndre Hopkins return.
Yeah, and that's fair.
I think that they might be like, well, we sucked the first 6 games, but now that D-Hop's back, like maybe that offense can go to another level. Like there's more optimism around them than I think the Rams because, like you said, they suck.
It's Cooper Kupp or bust, and even then, it's like there's I don't say drama just because I that's not the right word, but there are issues going around Cam Akers because they said he wanted to be traded. He was away from the team for a little bit. Darrell Henderson has come in and he hasn't been much of anything to replace him. And then now it's Cam Akers. Like they're not being able to run the ball that much. And then as you said earlier about the receivers, like and the offensive line, they're not helping out Matt Stafford at all. So it's amazing too. It's like show how dominant Cooper Kupp is. Like he's on one of my fantasy team. He's still getting like 30 fantasy points a week. Just because he's the only guy
targets a game.
Well, and it's garbage time. It seems like it's all garbage time points. But I mean, for fantasy owners, that doesn't matter to me. So, but yeah, I think the Cardinals are going to win this one. I think I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're just more balanced than the Rams. And so, but moving on now to Sunday Night Football, the Los Angeles Chargers versus the San Francisco 49ers, sticking in California here. Chargers. Yes, they beat the Falcons, but they are still extremely banged up, and they are not going to be able to contend with the 49ers. There's just no way. There's no way they can keep up with them.
Also, I think the 49ers are coming off a bye, correct?
Yeah, they're coming off a bye. Yeah, 49ers are 4-4.
The last time we saw them, they put up 27 second half points.
Yeah.
Like an unreal performance. I want to say it was 27 second half points, but
I think it was 21 against the Rams because it was 14-10 at halftime and they won 31-14. I think. Or it could have been
it was
touchdown.
21. Sorry, it was 21.
Yeah.
Just unreal. And this offense, I think, has another week of practice with Christian McCaffrey. And I think they're only going to improve. I think they got healthier over the bye week. It sounds like Deebo Samuel is going to play. And to me, that's just a recipe for disaster for a extremely banged up Chargers team.
Well, and then also, so now we're just talking about how the 49ers offense is going to score points against the Chargers defense. How is the Chargers offense going to score points against that 49ers defense? Without
I don't know
their number 1, number 2 receiver, without their left tackle, and I believe their center is still out. So and especially too that left tackle, Rashawn Slater, was the rock.
top 5 left tackle in the league. Like they went from top 5 left tackle to mediocre backup. Like, and that's a big deal.
Oh yeah, that's a big. Rashawn Slater made that offensive line so much better, and since his injury, they have been nowhere near the same. And so, actually, I was just looking at it too. Do we have? I don't think neither one of us even had the Chargers in the playoffs.
No, they're still in the wild card hunt. I think right now, New England hasn't beat out for that 7 spot, but
I think so as well. So
I think they have a little bit of an easier schedule down the stretch, but I don't think they're actually quite as good of a team due to all of their injuries.
Yeah. So, but it'll be, I mean, there's some scenarios where the Chargers win, but I think it's more because the 49ers played horribly, and I don't think they're going to play bad. I just don't think they're going to play bad. So, but moving on now to Monday Night Football, we have the Washington Commanders going up against the last undefeated team in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not too much, especially even the Eagles are coming off. Eagles going from a Thursday night game now to a Monday night game. You want to talk about rest. That's some serious rest. I mean, that's essentially a whole nother bye week.
Yeah, especially coming off a game that they should have won easily, but was actually kind of a grinded out game for them.
Yeah.
I think that was a good week of rest, and I think they're going to come back very mentally strong.
Yeah. So and even then, just the Commanders just aren't up to snuff.
No.
Taylor Heineke's still the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, they'll probably save the quarterback, to be honest.
Yeah.
That offense seems a little bit more balanced. Well, I don't know. Carson Wentz is inconsistent. I'm not saying that Taylor Heineke is better than him.
They play with more energy with Heineke, though. I know he's not quite as good. I just think the guys in the locker room like him a lot better.
Yeah. He's a great locker room presence. He's a great. That's what all the video games would say.
Heineken with
great locker room presence. Great leader.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but really, I feel like that makes a big difference.
Yeah. No. It definitely does. But I just think at the end of the day, that Eagles are going to put up so many points against this Washington defense. It's going to be ridiculous.
It's not going to be fair.
No. So
we both have Philadelphia winning that one. I don't want to jinx it, but that's my lock of the week. I think Philadelphia beats Washington. You just
jinxed it.
Yeah.
You changed it. You're telling me that the Chicago Bears against the Lions are not your lock of the week?
No.
Or oh wait, okay. No, that was a joke, but in all seriousness, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Green Bay Packers wasn't your lock of the week. Like that to me, just looking at it, that's a lock. That's a lock of the week.
No, to me it's Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. I'm not saying it's wrong, but
to me, the Packers realistically still have Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and probably a top 10, 12 defense in the league. Like, to me, there's a much clearer path to victory for the Packers than there is the Philadelphia Eagles. Also, the Packers are at home while Washington has to go to Philly.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. So
I know. So I just got to make sure that I prove a point.
I understand.
So, but yeah. But that is going to wrap up our picks for Week 10. I think it'll be an exciting week, except for the Indiana, Las Vegas, and New Orleans, Pittsburgh game. But those games will suck. But other than that, I think it'll be a really exciting week. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so we can ping you every time we go live, which is every Monday and Tuesday night, except tomorrow because Tyler has to work. Pretty lame. But yeah, other than that, we will see you guys next time.